This is a somber, and for me, a surreal Crime Watch UK. For all of us here, it can be grueling coping with crimes against victims who are strangers. It's been almost unbearable dealing with Jill's death.
Jill Dando, known and loved by millions, has been brutally murdered. The 37-year-old presenter died in hospital after being found shot through the head on her own doorstep.
Tonight, the mystery over her death deepened with speculation that the killing may have been revenge for her anti-crime work. She was attacked at her home in Fulham in West London.
Neighbours who found her dying on her doorstep had heard a scream and seen a well-dressed man hurrying away down the street. The shocking loss of one of Britain's best-known personalities drew many tributes, among them from the Queen and the Prime Minister.
Jill Dando was much more than a colleague. She was everyone's friend. Crime Watch is poorer without her. But this programme was her passion. And now, as Jill helped others, we hope we can do the same for her family, and for her fiancé, Alan.
Do you ever get worried about some of the things you see on Crime Watch?
Oh, yes, you do. But the crimes that we show are so rare. You know, it's not something that you walk out into the street and say, oh my gosh, the same thing's going to happen to me.
Hello and welcome to our Good Murderer podcast. We are back again. We're excited to share this case with you, and I'm joined by the guy in the fleece, Ben Carter.
Good morning. Hello to you. Wow, we are flying through this new series. Thrilled to be here again with my two very good, very nice friends, Tom and Dan. Big case today, boys. How are you, Dan? Bass Pro Shop Boy.
Yes, thank you very much. Very good, thank you. Episode 3, third gear, as I like to say. It's a very interesting case. I feel like it's been etched into my memory for the nation as well when it happened. I think I was 11 years old at the time, but I remember the coverage, the nation in mourning, and the absolute mysterious nature of it. So yeah, very, very eager to jump into it. What do you boys remember about it?
It's a weird, maybe I just didn't watch a lot of news when I was younger, but it's one that I remember obviously being everywhere and there not being a resolution, so to speak. But whilst doing the research for this, there's so much to it that I had no idea about, and certain names propping up, which I do, like the name Barry George. I do remember that in the back of my head from being younger. He's a fascinating character in himself. But yeah, it's a very peculiar one, and some of the later theories that came out about the case, again, I just thought, wow, it's one of those where the deeper you go into it, the more twists and turns there are. You sit at one stage, you think, oh, this is clearly what happened, and then you hear something else, you're like, what? So yeah, it's a proper mystery, and it's one that, especially with how it happened, what time it happened, it's so bizarre how it's still technically unsolved today.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit the same as you boys. I remember I have very vivid memories of my parents watching it on TV, the news coverage, and just being absolutely devastated by the news. I didn't quite comprehend who she was and how famous she was, but I remember my parents watching the coverage and being very, very shocked. And then exactly as Tom said, the more you go into this case, every kind of theory is somewhat plausible to an extent. So my mind has changed several times, and there are even some more like edgy boy conspiracy theories out there that actually I'm like, I'll listen to that. I will listen to it. But ultimately, yeah, very mysterious. And as for when and where and how it happened, how someone has technically gotten away with it, at allegedly at the expense of Barry George. Yeah, it's a case like no other, really.
So Ben, without any further ado, what is today's case?
So this week we are gathered here to discuss who killed Jill Dando, also referred to as the murder of Jill Dando, the wrongful conviction of Barry George, the celebrity murder that shook Britain, the Jill Dando conspiracies, a murder mystery on Gowan Avenue. And for those that joined us last week, it sounds like I might need help getting up that hill. need a hand at getting up that hill. Need a hando. Heel hando. Jill Dando.
I thought it was Jack and Jill go up the hill. That's why Jill.
I mean, that was Dan tried to improve it for me. And
sorry.
I just tunnel vision, you know?
Trying to throw you a life. Life jacket there, and you've popped it. You've refused it.
I need a hand getting up the hill. Hando me the hill. Jill Dando.
Have you ever asked for someone to give you a hando?
No. We did a minisode last night, and he worked that in as well. Bloody hell.
You tried to work it in.
No, I did. Okay, well.
You said what a abbreviation was in a text.
Yes.
And I said what I thought maybe you would mean if you messaged that abbreviation.
Yes, DTF, and I got it right. And then I got it so wrong. With Tom's impression of me, got it so wrong. And, I had to leave the room. I couldn't stop laughing.
But yes, there you go. And that's a reason to subscribe to a website for the minisodes, because you get that kind of gold. But anyway, let's get into today's case. Dan, it was down to finger.
Down to finger.
Are you down to finger?
Always. And what was Ben's guess?
Well, no, my guess was down to fuck. Okay. And then he was like, but you always used to text down to finger. And I just lost it.
And then he went to
because I got very visceral, you know.
First person.
Yeah, it's just like, just imagine saying that to someone. I am down to finger, by the way.
I'm down to do hand stuff.
A one-off.
April 26th, 1999, number 29, Gowan Avenue, London. At approximately 11:32am, on what was a particularly cold Monday morning, 37-year-old BBC television presenter Jill Dando was unknowingly stepping into the final moments of her life. As she completed 3 of the 4 steps from her front gate to the front door of her home, her keys about to be placed into the lock, an unknown perpetrator suddenly appeared behind her before forcing her to the ground and firing a bullet through the left side of her head. Astonishingly, the attacker was able to flee the scene without any kind of meaningful recognition. No gunshot was heard, no struggle was observed, and no clear description could be provided. But the sound of a woman screaming did reach one neighbour.
Ambulance service, hello? Hello, ambulance. I'm walking along Gowan Avenue. It looks like there's somebody collapsed. Confidentially, it looks like it's Jill Dando, and she's collapsed in her door. There's a lot of blood. Can you just approach and check that the lady's breathing for me? She doesn't look as if she's breathing. She's got blood coming from her nose. Her arms are blue. I just need to find out if she's breathing. Is the lady's chest going up and down? Oh my God, no, I don't think she's alive. Right, okay. I'm sorry, never mind, don't worry. I'm going to get some help there as fast as I can.
This call was made to police after a body was discovered laying in a large pool of blood on her doorstep 15 minutes after the shooting. Tragically, Jill was pronounced dead on arrival when she was later rushed to a nearby hospital. The abrupt and callous murder of such a beloved and welcome personality sent shockwaves across the UK and made headlines all over the world. Jill was regarded as one of the nation's most recognisable and trusted faces, with her death not only robbing the country of a cherished broadcaster, but also triggering one of the largest and most high-profile murder investigations in British history. Despite huge police resources, overwhelming public interest, as well as the murder occurring in the nation's capital in broad daylight, the police had little to no answers in response to the shocking crime. Was it the work of a deranged stalker? Were the IRA involved? Was the vengeful British criminal underworld responsible? Were there any credible links to the Russian mafia? Was it perhaps the violent doing of a jilted ex-lover? Was the nation of Serbia somehow involved? Or was it a hired hit from an entirely unknown entity? 2 years later, Barry George, a local man with a concerning criminal past and a known history of erratic behaviour, was convicted of the crime despite limited evidence to suggest he was responsible. However, he was eventually acquitted 8 years later after a successful appeal. Since then, no definitive evidence has pointed to a single suspect or motive, and no extra information has been unearthed from the investigation, resulting in the murder of Jill Dando standing as one of Britain's most infamous and perplexing cold cases. To add to the police and general public's growing fear and frustrations, whoever did it is, in all likelihood, still out there today.
How was the murder carried out so quickly and precisely in broad daylight on a busy London street without any notable eyewitnesses? Why did investigators initially pursue Barry George despite such a clear lack of concrete evidence? When did other theories such as Balkan revenge, the British criminal underworld and a BBC cover-up first start to emerge? And what will it take to finally solve one of Britain's longest and most bewildering murder cases with no justice or answers for Jill or her family some 26 years later? It's a humdinger. I'm sure there'll be very, very varied opinions on this case in the old comments section. So get yours in now or wait until the end. Do it when you like.
Yeah, for sure. Hear all what we have to say, and then put a comment in there. Get the chat going.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know what it says about me, and hopefully you boys can help me out in this. In doing the research for this case, as was the case with the JFK episode and the Princess Diana episode. Have a lot of sympathy and affection for tragic figures such as Princess Di, Jill Dando, and Jackie Kennedy. And almost developing a bit of a crush in doing the research, which I don't know if that's okay.
Well, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I thought it'd come up today because you're going on about Princess Diana, and everyone said that Jill Dando looks like her. So I thought that would come up.
Yeah.
So you developed a crush after, doing the research?
Not fully after, quite early on. But no, what I'm saying is it's easy to see why they were beloved by the British public. That's all I was trying to say, really.
No, I don't think it was not how you talked about Diana last time. It wasn't just...
I don't think I was gawky. I don't think I was that.
Didn't use that word, but yeah, that's a pretty good word for it. It probably is slightly troubling you fancying people who are no longer with us. I think that's...
No, I don't think I said it. I don't think I said it like that. Just to see it in doing the research,
you feel sympathy and...
Feel sympathy,
the blood rushing to your sympathy. Yeah, I get it.
So Jill Wendy Dando was born on the 9th of November 19...
Correction.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure what it's... I need to maybe I should talk to people. So anyway, now that that's out of the way and Dan's feeling super comfortable, let's move on to some background.
Pass the buck.
Jill Wendy Dando was born on the 9th of November 1961 in the seaside town of Weston-super-Mare in Somerset, England. As well as many other celebrities and sports folk, this location was also the birthplace of John Cleese. And whilst it does look quite lovely now, I don't know, have you boys been recently?
Never.
Not locally, but no, never.
I don't think I have either.
It looks quite nice now. It's not always been that way, apparently. It used to be referred to as Western Super Mud by locals due to the muddy conditions of the beaches, with author Roald Dahl describing it as a seedy seaside resort after he was forced to attend a boarding school there as a child. Also, I thought, what's this Supermare part all about? I thought it sounded quite lavish, and it's just Latin for above sea. So, the more you know.
Aren't all towns above sea?
All right, who's the wise guy?
But they're not all Supermare. I mean, they could actually all technically
Atlantis.
be Supermare. Infamously non-Superman, no. Underwater.
Yeah.
But there you go. Yeah, good question, Dan.
Thank you.
Any geography/Latin experts?
I'll ask my dad.
Nice.
Please do.
So Jill was the youngest of two children born to Jack Dando and Winifred Mary Jean Hockey, having an older brother called Nigel. Like their parents, the two Dando children were raised as devout followers of the Baptist Church, and as well as going to church every week and attending community events, they would regularly study the Bible together and share prayers at home.
During a 1996 episode of the This Is Your Life television series, her father Jack shared that they were a very happy, close-knit and loving family. They felt complete with the arrival of their baby girl. However, this joyful family image was soon threatened when it became apparent that there was something wrong with Jill. Her parents recall her cheeks often being quite red, and she would become breathless very quickly from the most minor of activity. At the age of 3, Jill was taken to the Western General Hospital, where renowned heart specialist Dr. Beryl Corner diagnosed her with a potentially life-threatening heart condition stemming from a blocked pulmonary artery and a hole in the heart. On the 12th of January 1965, Jill underwent 8 hours of groundbreaking surgery to correct her heart defects. The operation was a complete success, and just weeks later, a young Jill joyfully ran out to greet her parents when they arrived at the hospital to bring her home. On their childhood together, Jill's brother Nigel recalled,
I was 9 years old when Jill was born. quite often, as a family, we would go down to the beach and have a picnic on Sunday afternoons. I do remember those sand-blown lettuce sandwiches. They were part of the staple summer diet of growing up in Weston-super-Mare. There wasn't much money. We didn't have exotic holidays. I don't think she had a passport until she started working for the BBC. But she was remarkably polished and so professional. And, at the same time, she retained a natural warmth about her. She always had a twinkle in her eye.
Sand-blown lettuce sandwiches.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of a picnic on a beach. Like, it does sound idyllic, doesn't it? But you need to have a lot of apparatus to make it so you're not going to get... Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate lettuce more the older I've got. Didn't like it as a kid.
Me too.
And with sand on it, I would have gone even further away from it, but appreciate it more.
That's nice.
And I relate to everything. My brother had a hole in the heart, had to go to Great Ormond Street at a similar age.
Wow.
Shout out Great Ormond Street because they fixed it. They fixed his broken heart.
Do you want to shout out your brother as well?
Yeah, shout out brother.
Shout out, brother.
Shout out, brother.
He won't be listening. But it's there if you want it.
What's heart or?
Well, I think people would want that.
Hey, well done, Great Ormond Street.
Oh, fuck.
By the way, we're not being sponsored by them, have we, Dan?
Let me check.
Because
Imagine.
I'll get back to you on that.
Thanks so much.
Because Tom's got a jingle.
Oh, yeah, please.
Ooh, doctor, I've got a hole in my heart. Do what you could. Do what you can, man.
Sorry, wait, was that the baby singing?
No, someone a bit older, realised.
Children's Hospital.
Oh, yeah, but older baby.
Oh, yeah, one of those real
That was a
gravitas.
kid, isn't what you said? An older baby.
Older baby.
Ooh, doctor, I got a hole in my heart. Do what you can, man.
That works.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Also assumed that the doctor would be male, so
Well, so it rhymes with can, isn't it?
that's true. Woman, yeah, fair play.
Yeah, not like they did the rhymes like you, half rhymes that you kind of have to force in. Anyway, as a youngster, Jill went to Greenwood Junior School and Wall Infant School, where she was the star pupil in her class and also took on the role of milk monitor, which I never really thought. I think we should always mention this when it comes up. It seems to come up in a lot of cases. I don't remember that being a thing in the UK, the milk being given out to kids. It was an American thing in my head.
No, our school, we had a dedicated person to hand out milk to the tables.
Oh.
When was that being given? At lunch or brekkie?
Lunch.
I've never had that, I don't think.
Well, my school was quite, prestige.
Weak bone boys school.
Well, Dan had a dedicated person dishing out the milkshake. I think ours was on anyone could get it pretty much, and that was dangerous.
Yours milkshake and milk is very different though.
Oh yeah, milkshakes.
Did you have Yazoo's? You had Yazoo's.
I was in the queue every morning. Yeah, strawberry, banana. It wasn't milk; it was milkshake. Unless I am just having a fond recollection of. I don't think it was milk. Yeah, I think it was milkshake.
This was just plain old milk, straight from the cow.
At the age of 11, Jill transitioned to the Wall School and later moved to Broad Oak Sixth Form, where she successfully completed 2 A-levels and served as a head girl. During her teenage years, Jill had a wide circle of friends in the town and worked at a Saturday job at her local Western library. Her older brother Nigel pursued a career in journalism, starting at Western and Somerset Mercury before moving to Bristol Evening Post, while their father dedicated 38 years as the head compositor for the paper.
I was going to ask AI for a little pun on, journalism being in the family, newspaper, paper, keeping the paper in the family, but I didn't think it would get anything good, so I didn't bother. Sorry, guys.
That's awesome, man. I was going to do a wicked joke there, but I decided not to. So he just said. Cool.
Did you have one?
No, I just couldn't be bothered like you.
Oh, sorry.
Today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper. Isn't that an expression?
Something like that, yeah.
Nice.
After finishing school, like much of her family, Jill also chose to follow a path into journalism. Upon turning 18, her family told her to reach out to John Bailey, the at-the-time editor of the local Mercury newspaper, for a position, and she was hired a month later, in 1979, as one of the paper's first ever female reporters. From here, whilst also spending a great deal of her time volunteering for different charities, a 19-year-old Jill was given the opportunity to present Sunshine Radio, a hospital radio for Western General Hospital, where her talent was immediately recognised. She was headhunted and given a breakfast programme reporter and newsreader role for BBC Radio Devon. Sadly, in 1986, when Jill was 24, her mother Winifred sadly passed away after a lengthy battle with leukemia. This news devastated the Dando family and much of the local community who adored Winifred. Ultimately, this brought the family closer together and made Jill realise just how short life can be. She then accepted a role with the BBC's South West News flagship programme, Spotlight South West, based in Plymouth, where she continued to work as a presenter, before Jill was then given the opportunity of a lifetime to work for the BBC in London as one of their newsreaders and reporters. She was now on national television for the first time in her life, and the British public immediately fell for her. Jill went on to host a variety of BBC TV shows, such as Breakfast Time, Breakfast News, the BBC 1 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, along with travel series Holiday, and from time to time, Songs of Praise. I remember Holiday. Big fan.
What was it?
A travel series.
You didn't watch any so you were allowed to watch that, but you weren't allowed to watch
I think
any cartoons, any...
The BBC was really the only thing I was allowed to watch. The news, current affairs, and the travel series Holiday. So, yeah.
Good? Was it good?
I enjoyed it, man. Nice. It showed me the world through a TV screen.
So around this time, when Jill was brought over to the BBC, she was given a makeover, given a new look, and that's the kind of look everyone would associate to her. But interestingly enough, there's lots of comparisons to Princess Diana in terms of how she looked and in people's memory. But it was apparently the same hairdresser gave her the haircut, and it was before Diana had the haircut of the short blonde style. So Jill was the person before Diana there.
Pioneer.
Maybe you should look into who else that hairdresser did haircuts for, Ben, because maybe you would find
a
long list.
Let's explore further. It was also I remember watching
crazy.
that. Let's explore further. I remember watching the Netflix documentary quite a while ago, and the guy that we're about to talk about was very much like she'd been working in a lot of radio, and this was TV, so we needed to sort her out. And it was really not a nice way of putting it, basically. She needed to lose weight and we needed to change her style, but we got it right. It was all just horrific.
Wow. Yucky.
Yeah. And this is that man.
Oh.
In 1989, at the age of 27, Jill started living with one of her cousins in order to comfortably commute into different parts of London for her work. Soon after her arrival and rise to prominence with the BBC, and this was against the advice of those around her, she entered a romantic relationship with her boss, then BBC executive 41-year-old Bob Wheaton, with whom she held a relationship that lasted for 6.5 years. The couple were described as a complete mismatch from the start by colleagues and friends, with the relationship ending, at least according to the words of the Irish Times, when in 1997 Jill was sent on a holiday programme. A Holiday. It's got to be the show you loved.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so basically, against her wishes, she was sent off to an assignment in Africa as part of the holiday programme by Bob Wheaton. And the Irish Times wrote the following.
The relationship was already on the rocks. It just needed one little nudge to split them up. And that was provided by Kruger National Park Game Warden Simon Bassel. Dando had known him for less than 3 days when they tumbled into bed together.
So I wanted to make it clear the Irish Times said that. And Dan.
Yes.
Yeah, now, famously Dan.
Yeah.
I've said so many things over the years. So many things.
In 1994, 32-year-old Jill purchased a now 5-bedroom terraced house on Gowan Avenue in Fulham, London. So this was number 29 Gowan Avenue to be precise, and she purchased it for a whopping £265,000.
In today's money?
Oh, well, I've got the current value. It's actually on the market. It's just gone on the market a few weeks ago.
Go on.
It's like 2.5 million now.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like it's had... I don't know if it was 5 bedrooms when she bought it. It looks like it's had an extra floor added and maybe a basement conversion. But it's looking pretty slick, and it's Fulham. So, yeah, this purchase was an interesting one because it fell, obviously, not long after her relationship with Bob Wheaton kind of entered turmoil. But apparently Jill's family never wanted her to live in her house in Fulham by herself because of safety concerns. Very different to the Fulham of today. There were often violent assaults, sexual assaults, muggings, burglaries and armed robberies, all not too uncommon in the area at the time, particularly in the adjacent neighbourhoods, where there was also a large volume of drug abuse and homelessness. And yeah, although she was in a relatively not far from the posh, safer parts, it was still an area that was lived on by the general public. There were a number of bedsits surrounding the street that she was on. People from all different walks of life were living there. And yeah, it's kind of the equivalent of, I mean, London's a difficult example, but a celebrity basically moving into any kind of, terraced, which I imagine they must do in London. Some celebs must still kind of live, not in gated communities and not with security and stuff like that.
Well, I guess celeb is quite a wide term now, especially, isn't it? Some people would say someone from Love Island is a celebrity.
That's true.
So,
Depressingly.
That's true. That is true. Well, yeah, for Jill, I mean, it's 1994. She's, I would say, on her way to becoming A-list at this point, if not already there. And she's moved into a terraced house on a street in Fulham. She wasn't gated off. Many people knew that she lived there, and she had zero security present and no surveillance fitted. Nevertheless, despite her family and friends' concerns, she purchased the property and moved into the home on Gowan Avenue.
By the time 1995 came around, Jill was one of the most beloved faces on television. She was regularly referred to as the television's Diana, in reference to Princess Diana. And like I mentioned, the pair even sharing the same hairdresser and stylist. People from all over the country absolutely loved her. In a bid to try something different, but to also make a difference herself, Jill made the bold move to present BBC's Crime Watch. So for any of you that don't know what Crime Watch is, it is a UK television show that reenacts unsolved crimes to seek public help in resolving them. The programme employs actors to depict crime scenes, includes interviews with victims and law enforcement, and highlights wanted offenders. Its goal is to refresh the memories of witnesses and collect information that may aid the police in apprehending criminals. Throughout its run, BBC's Crime Watch has played a crucial role in helping solve numerous criminal cases. Notably, it has led to the apprehension of 57 murderers, 53 rapists and sex offenders, 18 paedophiles, along with a host of other violent offenders, which is
good going, I would say.
Yeah. The programme is especially recognised for its contributions to significant investigations, including the murder of James Bolger and the cases surrounding the M25 rapist. Many people still believe to this day that Jill's work on Crime Watch ultimately led to her demise. I still don't know why Crime Watch isn't around today.
I thought it was, because I tried to get the run length of it. The run length, is that a correct term? I don't know if it is. Yeah, it said is still a show, but maybe it's not. Maybe they only do it occasionally. I know it's not concurrent, is it?
I can imagine the format of it, how it was, wouldn't really work too well today.
Its runtime was 33 years.
Oh. When did it stop then? I don't know why they'd stop. There's plenty of crime still to watch.
Yeah, it was 322 episodes.
Wow. I mean, to get that level of arrests from that many episodes is a pretty good. That's almost an arrest per episode, or every other episode.
Yeah.
It's not bad going.
I wonder as well now, the world being so much more surveillanced, they probably would get more hits than they were then. Maybe I might be naive thinking, no, it's definitely more surveillance now, especially with Ring doorbells.
Better quality as well, yeah.
I say bring it back down. Don't know about you.
Yeah, was it like a kind of a dial-in thing? People can call in and tip off and stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't see that working nowadays, weirdly. I don't know why.
It's one of those where you probably get a lot of, like we said before, I don't know if we termed the phrase, maybe we did, sympathy sightings when people try to help. And they're doing it from the kind of, to actually try and be helpful, but they are misleading the police and people's time.
And that could be way worse nowadays with the amount of,
Yeah. There could also be outright time wasters as well.
Yeah.
I guess social media as well plays a huge part, because I'm just trying to think of like high profile recent murder or missing people's cases, and it's social media is massive for that. Yes.
For sure. Jill did voice some worries about her safety prior to accepting the Crime Watch position, especially concerning the possible dangers associated in aligning herself with a programme aimed at aiding in the capture of criminals. Her fiancé at the time, a gynaecologist by the name of Alan Farthing, whom she'd met on a blind date in December of 1997, noted that Jill had already raised concerns about driving home alone from the BBC during late hours. As well as this, she had received thousands of pieces of fan mail, some of which overstepped the line and even appeared stalkerish. In 1907, Ben, you were probably about, 12? Were you writing letters at that time?
I was probably just on my way to turning 8.
Oh, okay. So
August birthday.
Carried too. Okay. But
Don't
were you...
carry anything. I don't know if I could write then.
Fair. It's brown crayon. Hopefully it was crayon. Nevertheless, she felt reassured by the security protocols that were established and went ahead with the role. Due to her work as a journalist in Crime Watch and other investigative projects, Jill's family had worried she was now at risk of an attack long before her shocking death. Her cousin Judith quite bluntly recalled,
Jill was ridiculously naive about her security. When she went for the house in Gowan Avenue, I remember saying to her, "Do you really want to do this? You are living on your own. Wouldn't you be better off with a smart apartment where you have a security guard?" I had also spoken to her about driving around in a soft-top car in London. I said it was not a good idea because she was so well known. But I think perhaps she hadn't seen enough to realise nasty things can happen. And sadly, it did to her.
I mean, I could be talking way out of line here. Maybe they could have been really close. But this reeks to me of someone who's maybe not so close to her in the family trying to get in the headlines with some quotes. Because it sounds very like,
Yeah, calling your cousin ridiculously naive, I mean, after their death.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure someone who's been working on Crime Watch for as long as she did, she does know how nasty things can happen. Very, very aware of it, in fact. And the fact the soft top thing is like, that has no link to what would go on to happen, so it's a completely irrelevant point.
I guess it is, well, I don't know, again, for the time, I'm just thinking, for someone as famous as she was, although I know she wasn't in the house all the time, I find it quite strange.
Well, at the time of what we're going to go on to, she was never really there because she was always at her partner's house.
Yeah. Anyway. I don't know. I just fit that. Although I think, as you said, Judith, that's kind of a headliney grabbing statement, and it's not the nicest thing to say. I can also see the family's concern if they are, knowing that she's, driving around.
There's a lot of in hindsight, I'm sure.
Yes, yeah, that's
maybe
fair.
It wasn't a good idea living there because of what happened, but I don't know how bluntly they'd have been saying it at the time.
Yeah.
Though it was her property, 29 Gowan Avenue was no longer a location that Jill regularly stayed in. As we mentioned, Jill was now engaged to Mr. Alan Farthing. Alan, who was 2 years younger than Jill, was in the process of arranging a divorce when mutual friends arranged for a blind date between the pair. Jill and Alan immediately hit it off, and she quickly started spending a great deal of her time staying over at Alan's house before all but moving in with him. As a result, Jill spent most of her time living in West London with Alan and would only occasionally go to the house in Gowan Avenue just to check in, to collect items or clothing, or to send or receive important faxes. In fact, it would now be incredibly rare that she would even stay there overnight. This would make what was to follow on the infamous April morning even more bizarre. Alan and Jill later became engaged on the 31st of January 1999, with a wedding arranged for September 25th of that year. Though sadly for Jill, her fiancé, her family, her friends, and the nation that adored her, that day would never come. And it's here that we move to the timeline of who killed Jill Dando.
Monday, April 26th, 1999, 10:05 a.m, London. 37-year-old Jill Dando leaves her fiancé Alan Farthing's home in West London and starts to make her way towards her house in Fulham. There are many different stories and opinions with regards to specifically why Jill headed to her Gowan Avenue property that morning, but the most common and leading ones seem to be that Jill was on her way to send or receive some important faxes, whilst also getting a particular change of clothes to attend a lunch date with friends. Either way, at 10:21 a.m, Jill is caught on surveillance stopping at a petrol station. She then fills her car up and heads towards a shopping centre in Hammersmith Central. At 10:50 a.m, Jill is caught on surveillance entering a shopping centre, where she then heads into a shop which, from is very small little bit of surveillance, looks a bit like what could possibly have been a Clinton Cards.
Oh,
remember them?
Yeah, I do.
Remember them? Yeah, or just a stationary
outlet
shop.
What, one that's not on wheels?
So she's seen on footage here purchasing fax paper as well as copying paper. Jill then returns to her car, leaving Hammersmith and heading south down to Fulham Road. And yeah, keep in mind, if you follow the theory that Jill was followed that morning, or that someone was in the know with regards to where she was heading that morning, nobody could be seen on any of the footage following or watching her. Jill was also in the process of selling the house on Gowan Avenue at the time and had already accepted an offer on the property from an interested buyer. So yeah, the property was due to sell. Very few people knew that she still even went there. And for someone to know that she was going there that morning only makes this case even more mysterious. At approximately 11:31 a.m, Jill parks her car right outside of her house at number 29 Gowan Avenue. She then walks up to her front gate, enters the front garden of her property, walks 3 or 4 yards towards her front door, pulls her keys out of her pocket, and is then forced to the ground before being shot in the side of the head, presumably at point-blank range with a 9mm weapon. The assailant then fled the scene in broad daylight whilst Jill bled to death. There were no witnesses that observed the attack, no witnesses that heard the shooting, but one witness, Jill's neighbour, Richard Hughes, who claimed to have heard a lone scream. He recalled the following.
I didn't hear a man's voice or any dialogue at all. I also heard no shots at all. From what I would say was a shot, there was no shot. I did hear a scream, a single scream, but I thought it was somebody surprising somebody.
At the time, Richard looked out of his upstairs front window where he captured the only, quote, certain sighting of Jill's killer. He described seeing a 6-foot-tall white man believed to have been around 40 years old walking away from the scene. But he did not know that Jill had been attacked, so continued on with his day.
Seeing someone from a top window, I think you'd be hard-pressed to say their height, wouldn't you?
Agreed. 6 foot is kind of generic, isn't it, as well, though, I suppose?
6 foot is kind of average, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that might upset some shorter people.
It's average in Holland, and that's the tallest nation. But not over here.
What was the average?
Average height of male, UK, 5'9".
That's pretty much 6, there you go.
It's going to upset some people, though.
Let them come.
Oh. Sound like Bonnie Blue.
11:46 a.m. 14 minutes after she was shot in the head, one of Jill's other neighbours, Helen Doble, found Jill's body slumped face down in her doorway. She immediately contacted the police, which was the 999 call we played at the start of the episode. Despite immediate and slightly belated efforts, Jill could not be resuscitated. She was rushed to nearby Charing Cross Hospital around an hour and 15 minutes later, where she was announced as dead on arrival at 1:03 p.m. Police immediately believed that the shooting appeared to have been some sort of professional or arranged act, and for anyone to have known she was going to 29 Gowan Avenue, they must have either been following her for some time or known her plans in advance of her movements. Mr. Bob Whiffenden, who was an investigative journalist for The Guardian, wrote the following.
As Dando was about to put her keys into the lock to open the front door of her home in Fulham, she was grabbed from behind. With his right arm, the assailant held her and forced her to the ground, so that her face was almost touching the tiled step of the porch. Then, with his left hand, he fired a single shot at her left temple, killing her instantly. The bullet entered her head just above her ear, parallel to the ground, and came out the right side of her head. No murder weapon or evidence could be found at the scene. There was no sign of a struggle and no clear suggestion that any DNA evidence had been left behind. As well as this, no immediate witnesses came forward on Gowan Avenue or the surrounding area. In the hours immediately following the murder, a large investigation was launched. A team of at least 30 detectives, crime scene investigators, all gathered outside Jill's home in a bid to preserve and start to analyse what was left of a highly disturbed scene. As efforts had been made to resuscitate Jill where she lay dying, there were now many other third-party DNA profiles present. Despite initial struggles, the team recovered numerous pieces of contaminated gravel, fibres, wood scrapings, fingerprint marks from the front gate, and one lone bullet, as well as the brass cartridge casing from a 9mm caliber weapon that was left on the front doorstep. The cartridge appeared to have been modified in a workshop in a bid to likely reduce its propellant charge so that it could function as subsonic ammunition. Police ballistics tests also showed that the bullet was fired from a smooth bore barrel without rifling, indicating that the gun used in the murder was likely a blank firing pistol that had been illegally changed to fire live ammunition, which was apparently quite a common practice in some parts of Eastern Europe. Just as the team were able to cordon off the area, news of the murder started to attract a large presence of media, and this was before the victim was confirmed to have been one of Britain's biggest celebrities of the time. And actually, this is what I remember of the case. I remember a lot of news reports kicking off before they had confirmed. This is what stuck with me.
Yeah, initially there was like quite a bit of misinformation being spread about what happened, how it happened. But you're right. I remember vividly my parents being in disbelief about what had happened. And again, I don't think I recognised her at the time as being on TV lots, but my parents said that she was.
Just slowly put your brown crayon away.
Okay. Subsonic ammunition, by the way, because that got my attention.
But interesting facts.
Yeah. No, that's not. We'll see. We'll see how the weeks go. But subsonic ammunition is ammunition designed to travel at a velocity slower than the speed of sound.
Subsonic.
Well, what's that good for? Apparently, it's effective for hunting within a few hundred yards, shooting competitions, and casual range shooting. Yeah, subsonic. Back to the boys.
Is it quieter?
I would have thought so if it's travelling slower than that.
For no one to have heard the shot being fired, this is what confuses me.
Yeah.
Well, so the idea of using that kind of gun is intelligent because it's harder to track the weapon, obviously, isn't it? As well, like, because there's going to be it could be a number of replicas and stuff like that.
Just had a quick look. Subsonic ammunition is quieter than supersonic ammunition, and it prevents the crack sound when it occurs when a bullet breaks the sound barrier. So, yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
The entirety of Gowan Avenue was then thoroughly searched. Everyone living on Gowan Avenue and in the surrounding neighbourhoods had their front gardens, cars, rooftops, street bins, trees and flower beds, as well as a lone skip and building site, frantically checked in search of a discarded weapon, but nothing was found. As detectives began knocking door to door in search of any potential witnesses, two of Jill's other neighbours described a Mediterranean-looking postman in the area who they'd never seen before, as well as a slender but athletic-suited man running down Gowan Avenue drenched in sweat before boarding a bus. Additional neighbours also saw a suspicious-looking window cleaner. I mean, what are you doing to look suspicious?
Peering.
Looking around before you squidgy. Teach me how to
What's
squidgy.
the other hand doing?
Suspicious stuff, boy. Don't put that in the app.
You're squeezing his sponge.
Yes.
You dirty
Definitely keep that in the
sod.
app, Pots.
And finally, there was a traffic warden about to ticket an illegally parked blue Range Rover when a tall man wearing a hat and glasses quickly brushed her off and drove away in the vehicle. Still, despite all of this, police had no clear clues in the killer and no key suspects in mind. So yes, a number of... It's a bit like Cluedo, isn't it? Or the Murder on the Orient Express. Lots of different people with interesting traits. And who could it be and for why?
Yeah, just a lot going on. Again, this is what surprises me about if this postman, suited man, window cleaner, hat and glasses man, if they were all there, how did, again, no one see what happened to Jill? Busy street, London, daytime, Monday morning. Just make it make sense.
It's going to need some time. The blue Range Rover in question was later caught on CCTV speeding through Putney Bridge and a series of red lights not far from the scene of the murder at around 11:35 a.m, which is very... just going for red lights. Definitely something to look at. A large-scale inquiry focused on blue Range Rovers in London for the next 2 months. However, due to the technology of the time, no license plate number could be identified from the available CCTV footage. Thousands of blue Range Rovers were owned all over London at this point, which made the search even more complicated. Chelsea tractors, Ben calls them.
Yep.
Why are you driving a Range Rover or Land Rover in London? It's for farms. Point well raised, Ben, but we'll continue. Later that day, news of Jill's murder started to make its way to her colleagues and loved ones. Many of her colleagues were handed the heartbreaking task of announcing that their friend had just been murdered on national television. Jill's colleague and fellow BBC newsreader, Jenny Bond, recalled the following.
The newsroom was cold with shock, real shock. We're people who are used to reporting on all sorts of deaths, disasters, wars. But to have one of your own, one of your very, very own, killed in that manner on our doorstep was just too awful to believe. And I had to read it.
I mean, I guess there's no... I was just thinking, is there... Because obviously that'd be harrowing and truly upsetting and probably disturbing as well to be reading about your colleague's death so soon after
completely
it. But
surreal, yeah.
don't know how you would counter that, because it is news and it needs to be broadcast. So, yeah, but truly horrific. In the rush to get the news story out, the BBC initially erroneously reported that Jill had been stabbed to death outside her home. As days and weeks progressed, the news story of Jill Dando being murdered was second only to the death of Princess Diana in terms of volume and number of reports on. And at the time, her murder prompted the biggest murder inquiry and criminal investigation since the Yorkshire Ripper murders, which you can find on I Could Murder a Podcast series. I don't know when it is or when it is, so I'm not going to say that. Series 2?
I believe so. We just got into Boston Sound, and I think it might even be Series 2, Episode 1, you know? That's just my thoughts.
With more than 4,000 people being spoken to or interviewed to some degree in connection with the crime. That is a lot of interviews.
Yeah. And I guess as time goes on now, they don't have any clear, and there's so many different options which we're gonna talk about here, which so many different plausible theories, but it's London, it's broad daylight, it's one of the biggest celebrities in the country of the time, and they still have no answers. I think they immediately feel the pressure of that, which is, I think, why eventually Barry George is brought into the case. But yeah, this is where we'll talk about all the different theories, but my mind has kind of gone all over the place with them. I can hear all of them and see some concrete evidence. And I can
semblance.
I can see some. Thank you. That's better than concrete. I don't know.
Much fucking better than that.
Yeah, I can see some semblance with some of them, but we'll see what people think. See what you guys think as well. So obviously we've discussed the murder scene as well as the known events that transpired that particular morning. We're now going to focus a little bit more on motive and the theories surrounding the many different suspects. As she was known to many millions of the British public, dozens of different motives were suggested in different levels of society. A team of 2 detective inspectors reviewed 190 CCTV cameras in the areas that captured Jill's final hours alive that morning. In doing that, they analysed more than 430 hours of footage to minute detail. The team were able to state with 100% certainty that they could categorically deny that Jill was followed by anybody. I guess if they've looked at every bit of footage, they won't see, I don't believe there's footage of Gowan Avenue, but I think that's a bold statement to say with 100% certainty they could eliminate that theory.
Yeah,
agreed.
Especially because there was some areas that weren't captured. So in doing this, they said that someone therefore must have been waiting on Gowan Avenue because they knew for a fact she was going to be there. This resulted in the quite common theory that Jill had been speaking with her eventual killer or the person responsible for hiring her killer. It later turned out that one person had in fact spoken with Jill with regards to her whereabouts that morning, and this was her agent, Mr. John Roseman. He confirmed with police that Jill was heading to her property on Gowan Avenue in order to collect some faxes regarding some work opportunities that he had sent over to her, which obviously lined up with the fact she had a fax machine in the property and had purchased fax and copy paper on the morning that she died. He also claimed that her plan was to stop there briefly, collect the faxes, and then head out to lunch with friends. In speaking with the police, it was unearthed that John Roseman had recently written a short story, which he had 15 different draft versions of. And this short story was about an agent whose clients were murdered under mysterious circumstances, including an A-list presenter or personality who was shot to death. Mr. Roseman was later cleared of any involvement, coldly stating in a Netflix documentary that it, quote, made no sense for him to have arranged the murder of his biggest earner.
Yeah, which sounds cold and light of day, but it is factual, isn't it? It is just because things I heard as well were, why didn't he just send the fax to her fiance's house? And him being, I understand the kind of why people do need to look into him, because obviously him doing that is obviously someone who directly knows that where she's going to be on that day and her location, and the fact that she was so infrequently there, you have to look at that. But yeah.
Well, this is if we're, as the police did, they're saying with 100% certainty that she wasn't followed, then that suggests that either John Roseman had told other people where she would be, he was involved in some extent, or the phones were tapped and people that were listening in could hear her talking to him to say, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm going to be. which is an eerie thought. Another common initial speculation surrounding Jill's murder was due to her links with Crime Watch. A news report from the BBC within just 48 hours of Jill's murder fueled immediate speculation and a great deal of interest in this particular theory. The BBC radio broadcast stated, Jill Dando was left dying on the doorstep of her home, revenge perhaps for her role as a crime reporter who helped to jail top criminals. So yeah, the Crime Watch one is an interesting theory as well, because obviously we talked about the statistics there. She was a huge celebrity at the time of moving over to Crime Watch, and the cases that she was shedding light on were getting solved, and people were being put in jail in their eyes because of her. And there are underground criminal networks that have intelligence and have capabilities and have people that can apparently move around without being seen. The one part I feel would eventually have broken in 25, 26 years is the silence. Surely someone would have spilt some information somehow if it was this option. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously we'll discuss what we all believe. Crime Watch one, I don't know. Unless you're trying to get the show essentially to be cancelled because of the fear of a repeat offence happening. But then I also think in order to do that, you need to make it so a clear link to that being because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than an anonymous one where you're like, it could be a number of these people. There's so many people under the spotlight.
Yeah, and obviously it didn't end the show. They just got other presenters in and it continued for many years after. So yeah, I mean, my mind did go to this one briefly, but the political ones, which we're going to talk about, are a little more interesting. There's quite a dark conspiracy about the BBC being involved, and another scandalous case that we've covered before, the Jimmy Savile case. There's an expose allegedly with regards to that. But yeah, so this is a brief touch on the Crime Watch speculation.
April 27th, 1999, the day after the murder, a Serbian connection. In the wake of the murder of Jill Dando, the BBC received a number of concerning calls from a man claiming to be from Serbia. In the call, a distorted Eastern European accent shouted, Tom?
Want to do the voice?
No, not me.
No. I don't know what Serbian sounds like.
Your Prime Minister Blair murdered him. I lost it.
Go on.
I lost it. No, I lost it.
Get it back.
Your Prime Minister Blair murdered and butchered 17 innocent young people. He butchered, so we butcher back. The first one you had yesterday. Comrade.
You shocked by that being half decent, Dan?
Yeah, I'm actually speechless.
Cool.
Maybe it could be offensive to some people. I don't know.
I've never understood how accents can be offensive, but that's ignorant of me.
I'll keep this all in.
But just to be clear, that was Ben doing the voice. All right, carry on, Dan.
No offence, though.
We can't just say that.
That covers everything.
What this man was making threats in reference to was an event that transpired 3 days before Jill's murder. NATO had bombed a large TV station in Serbia, which they cited being a national hub for propaganda. The massively controversial bombing killed a large number of journalists in the process, leaving Serbia furious at all members of NATO and subsequently the United Kingdom. What placed Jill further under the microscope was that she had recently fronted an appeal for Kosovan refugees and victims of the Yugoslav war, so she is believed to become a key target of the Serbians as a result.
See, this one again, when I learnt of this, it's not too easy to dismiss this one. This is possible, right?
When you look at it as well, and let me put my head above the parapet here. We've bombing another country's thing and killing a number of journalists, and then them killing one journalist in retaliation. You have to look at also the actions of the other countries just wiping out journalists in that way. Not to say this justifies what happened or if it was them, but I think it's like you have to also shine a light on what your country's doing, and retaliations are to be expected if you are bombing journalists.
Well, the other link, which we'll talk about once we discuss Barry George, is the old manipulated ammunition casing, which is apparently crimped or crimping, which is not Serena Williams at the halftime Super Bowl show. Super Bowl. Crimp walk. Crip walk.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Crimping is what you do around the edge of a pie, I think, Ben.
Yes, and sort of
Crimp the
similar
pastry.
crimping walking. That was the other link. Yeah, so this ammunition apparently, the manipulation, the modifications of the ammunition was apparently common in parts of Serbia and different parts of Eastern Europe and the Balkans.
But could that just be used to try and link it to them?
There you go. Exactly that.
Over the following weeks and months, British intelligence went through the painstaking process of trying to identify multiple overseas threats, as well as Serbian nationals living in London at the time of Jill's murder. They explored numerous Serbian warlords who could likely have organised a contract killing, but there was no credible source identified. Some people still feel to this day that the Serbian government or a Serbian radical was responsible for Jill's sudden and seemingly professional murder. The British Major Investigations Unit also explored theories ranging from the mafia, ex-partners, crazed stalkers, Russian criminal networks, as well as current partners and colleagues, but had no luck. Forensic psychologists involved in the case instead anticipated that the offender would likely be a solitary individual suffering from a significant personality disorder.
4 days after the murder, still without any arrest or clear suspect in their sight, the Met Police re-questioned neighbours who described seeing a sweaty man in a suit running for a bus. I wish even that as a description, it's like...
Surely that happens every day in London.
Yeah. Especially if it's as hot as it's been recently muggy around here. It's sweat, yeah. From these descriptions, the computer-generated EFIT was drawn up representing the man's face, which the police decided to share in a local televised press conference. This became huge news. For some reason, and despite limited evidence, they very quickly announced him as their number one suspect, and appealed to witnesses who were at the bus station on Fulham Palace Road, as well as the areas in the particular bus route. In announcing the suspect's EFIT, police demanded that the public help them locate the man, or that the man come forward and eliminate himself from the line of inquiry. Along with the image, they stated, white male wearing a dark suit, neatly cut brown hair, 35 to 40 years old, carrying a mobile phone, possibly wearing large black framed glasses. I mean, apart from the framed glasses, Ben.
I mean, yeah, and the suit, and the 35 to 40. I mean, I am in that range, but only just, I'm barely in it.
You're so in it.
No, not even halfway.
Man, bro, it's okay. Age is just a number. Let's carry on. Within a matter of days, a man named James Charlie Shackleton subsequently called police to place himself at the crime scene. He was described as a strange, almost 7 foot tall, quirky character who worked as an undertaker in Shepherd's Bush and used an old blue lighted ambulance as his mode of transport. A lot to unpack there.
Yeah,
Shackleton is a great name for an undertaker.
Yes. There'll be more to unpack. This is bizarre, this series of events.
This is just the hand luggage. He boldly claimed to investigators that he was the running man near the site of Jill's murder. He stated he was running away from a man who was chasing him out of a nearby park and just so happened to run across the street Jill was murdered on. On hearing this, Shackleton was arrested and his house was immediately searched. During the search, investigators very quickly found a coffin inside the dining room of the house. They also found a map of the Fulham area, a letter from the BBC, as well as bags upon bags of strange Polaroid photos.
I'm sure he's not going to say anything strange to investigators when they interview him. I'm sure.
Well, Ben, hold on to your shit-filled knickers, because I'm about to get into this. In an interview with the police, Shackleton calmly and quite chillingly claimed that he was in the area that Monday morning because he was looking for pieces of wood in a local park in order to make several coffins for babies. Can you just go into a local park and claim wood? Let alone for a coffin for a baby?
I think it's like on the floor law.
Yeah, you can forage.
On the floor. And if you're not ripping it from a tree, you can forage. Thank you, Stan.
But
on the floor.
Why wouldn't you just buy wood?
I mean, I'm imagining twigs as well, not like, strong, wide pieces of cut wood.
I don't ever want a twig coffin.
They use them for cremations, don't they? It's not twig, it's wicker, which is in the family of twigs. Or twigs is in the family of wicker.
I mean, I'm out of my depth here, to be honest. I'm not
Same. So was he, by the sound of it, in this interview, because, whoa. Just say you're walking in the park.
Yeah, I don't think you need to make yourself sound incredibly creepy. It's not going to help you with this. However, when accused of actively stalking Jill Dando and ultimately murdering her, he claimed that he couldn't have possibly done it because he was gay. A deeper dive into the life of James Shackleton showed that he had previously posed as a royal duke. He had previously involved himself in numerous other murder investigations and enjoyed the limelight that came in the gravity of the surrounding media. He was quickly released and told not to waste police time or resources again. Shackleton subsequently sold his story to as many journalists as would listen before returning to his work as an undertaker. I just never understand people who get a thrill from getting involved in themselves in...
It's so strange.
Very, very bizarre.
As well as this as well, they've come out and said, this is our number one guy. Whether Shackleton was in fact the running man or not, how are they saying this is our number one suspect? Because he was running down that street that morning. It's for it to have happened in London, as I said, broad daylight, and they're still now clutching at any avenue they can go down.
Any branch.
Twigs.
Yes, sure. Yes.
But the only thing is, as well, like that, is he could easily have just said, like you said, I was running for a bus.
Yeah,
Why are you saying, we changed his story as well, he's running away from someone at one point, and now he's not running away from anyone, he's just going there looking for wood for children's coffins. But I can't have done it because I'm gay. Again, like that doesn't... Yeah, very, very...
Yeah. May 18th, 1999, 22 days after the murder. Jill Dando's murder was covered on Crime Watch in a somber and surreal special episode. During the special, Jill's last moments alive were recreated by a team of actors in vivid detail. So amongst the thousands of calls generated from the airing of this episode, one particular individual called up, claiming to be an informant called Mr. James, who knew exactly who killed Jill Dando. In the call, he gave a list of names of known criminals across London, as well as their reasons for wanting Jill murdered. He could describe the precise movement of a blue Range Rover, which at this point hadn't yet been released to the public, and also described each suspect's active links to the criminal underworld. Police now had a list of 80 new possible suspects. However, despite a great deal of hope being placed in the lead, it later became clear that Mr. James was in fact lying in an attempt to frame enemies who were dealing drugs in his territory.
Yeah, I've also heard that it was someone that he owed money to and he was getting like threats from as well. So yeah, it was him basically trying to quite cleverly trying to, deflect. Yeah, but the only thing is, why did he know so much about the blue Range Rover still?
Yeah, lucky guess. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, not bad, mate. Yeah.
The underside of the mic. So January 1st of 2000, and this is 250 days after the murder. A lot of time passed now.
Nearly
Still without any notable suspects or promising leads, the case quickly started going cold. Jill Dando, one of the biggest celebrities in the country at the time, was murdered in broad daylight on a busy London street, and police were still unable to find the person or people responsible. As a result, the reward for any information leading to the identification of Jill Dando's killer was raised to £250,000, which is almost double that today's money, £476,000.
Yeah, but the price of Freddo's now.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. This was the biggest reward in any criminal investigation in British history at the turn of the millennium. And it was now clear that the only person in the world who knew who killed Jill Dando was the person that did it.
Just want to say to anyone who's listening to this rather than watching it, Ben has currently got a dog in his lap, and he's managed to he's managed to
how do parents get anything done, you know? Fucking hell. At the same time, police decided to start revisiting old leads in a bid to reduce their list of almost 1,000 persons of interest, and they wanted to try and get this down to just 100. In doing this, completely by chance, they identified a man named Barry Busara, who they discovered had repeatedly called several different companies, asking them to provide him with an alibi for the very Monday morning that Jill Dando was murdered. Barry, whose real name was Barry George, lived half a mile and just a few streets away from Gowan Avenue in a bedsit on Crookham Road in Fulham. And once again, it took dozens of police investigators 250 days to get to this stage. They've all explored multinational theories, ex-lovers, stalkers, this bizarre undertaker, running man, and now they're circling back almost a year later to Barry George.
There was a phone call letting them know that someone had been doing this long before. So the fact it took 250 days, it wasn't a case they received a call around that time and then, let's look into that. It was a case of they had to, it's easy to say, why didn't you look into that straight away? Obviously they had so many different leads to look into. But this one in particular, wanting alibis for the time, living close by, and Barry being an interesting individual as well. And as I said earlier, that personality disorder, I think Barry ticks the box there.
Yeah, compared to Shackleton, there's not a lot of skeletons in this one's closet as well.
To the investigating team's horror, Barry George, who was unemployed at the time, had a lengthy criminal record built up between 1978 and 1999. This included several charges for physical assault, impersonating a police officer, indecent assault, stalking, antisocial and attention-seeking behaviours, sexual assault, attempted rape and rape. He attended many of his subsequent court hearings in glam rock attire. In discovering this, police put Barry under 24-hour police surveillance. Almost as quickly as the surveillance teams were able to arrive, they observed Barry wandering the streets of London for the entire day, during which time he approached random women who he had also spent a lot of time following around. Police therefore made the decision to arrest Barry and search his bedsit. After knocking for several minutes, they eventually forced the door open to commence their search. And it's not clear if they had a warrant to do so or not.
Just trying to find some pictures of him in his glam rock attire, but I can't find any.
No, maybe. AI is crazy these days, right?
Yeah, man. So you see some of the stuff.
Yeah, Tom turned me into Gandhi.
No. Turn you into a bald man in a pub, and you said it looks like Gandhi.
Yeah. I don't know what I've said wrong. Continue, Dan.
Inside the dirty, cluttered bedsit, police found dozens of bin bags scattered in piles throughout every room. Most officers searching the property hastily requested face masks due to the horrible and varied odours coming from within numerous rooms. Very little of the walls or floors were visible. Ants and insects lined many of the kitchen surfaces. Human excrement was found on the floors of multiple rooms in the bedsit. Amongst the chaos, police found a gun holster, a long black cashmere duster jacket, a handwritten list of replica handguns, including both 8mm and 9mm automatics, the type of weapon likely used in the murder. They were also able to recover hundreds of undeveloped photos. They recovered multiple newspapers and magazine cuttings that were covering the Jill Dando murder, neatly stacked into a pile. They also recovered dozens of pornographic magazines, military magazines, and martial arts magazines.
So, yeah, when hearing about Barry George, and there is a lot of things that do point to him, and obviously, yeah, people linked his clothing, his choice of clothing to the running man as well. He fit the description in terms of the look as well. The magazines and the newspaper things. I mean, that story was absolutely everywhere at the time. So you could argue, with the state the bedsit was in, that could just be, newspapers stacked together, really. Don't have shit on your floor.
Yeah, and as well, I mean, we've covered bedsits before, haven't we? I didn't know they had that many rooms. Felt like a bit of a maze the way that was described.
Well, it sounded more like a bed shit.
There are lots of convenient fingers that point towards Barry George. And it's weird because in some documentaries I've seen, you see him being interviewed now, and you do feel sympathy for him. But then when you look at his background and all these horrible crimes he had committed prior to the Jill Dando situation, which obviously doesn't mean he did this as well, but he had a pretty shitty upbringing by all accounts, and then did some pretty awful things. So it's hard to feel sympathy for him at the same time.
Yeah, I think the one thing I got from watching, content on it was there wasn't seemingly. It didn't reinforce you thought he was obsessed with her, or he had there wasn't anything like that you would have thought would be found in there. You wouldn't pictures of her cut out or photos taken of her from afar, or nothing really seemed to lean that he was obsessed with her by any stretch.
Well, especially because he lived around the corner from her. You would have thought he would have been seen on that street multiple times. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, around the corner, chocolate's made, especially around his house.
Yes.
The hundreds of undeveloped photo films were taken to a local police facility to be developed and analysed. In doing this, police quickly realised that there were hundreds of photos taken of random women in the street, seemingly without their consent. Many of the photos were taken from behind or from the side of the woman and young girls, or from a great distance, as if Barry had been following them. None of the women were looking towards the camera. Chillingly, one photo was taken of a woman who lived next door to Jill Dando, and in and amongst all the disturbing public voyeuristic photos was a picture of Barry George holding a handgun and wearing a gas mask.
It's a pretty scary picture.
Stinky flat though.
I mean, yeah, the gas mark in that location does make sense. It's quite practical. The gun, questions over that one.
For sure.
For sure, yeah.
The gun appeared to be an 8mm Bruni firing gun, which potentially matched the exact type of firearm that could have killed Jill Dando. Immediately, police arrest Barry George. In doing so, they publicly announce and allegedly leak to the press details of the man they are holding. The story of Barry's arrest, 13 months after the murder, was almost as big of a news story as the news of Jill's murder. I've never heard of a Bruno firing gun.
It's a stubby little thing, I think.
Without a lawyer initially present, Barry George was more than happy to talk, albeit slightly awkwardly, with police and answer their questions. Initially, they seemed to have a standoff over whether or not Barry owned a gun, with Barry refusing to back down from his weapon being a replica rather than the real thing. They trapped Barry in the question, "Are you a liar?" after making him state he wasn't a liar before asking if he had ever posed as Freddie Mercury's cousin, to which he said he had.
Very quickly caught him out there. It was within a few seconds. Are you a liar? No. Have you ever pretended to be someone that you're not? Yes.
Barry Balsara is a name from a list of many that Barry had used and he was going by. Balsara was Freddie Mercury's real surname, and Freddie Mercury's estate came forward to say that they'd never even heard of the man. Yeah, we'll get on to the lookalike. I don't think he looks much like, apart from the bit of facial hair and black hair, not really much of a Freddie look to him.
No, I agree.
I named my first budgie after Freddie Mercury.
Nice.
Loved Freddie Mercury as a kid.
Any reason?
When I was young, I wanted to have a moustache, a hairy chest, and I just loved the songs, Dan, really.
That's cool, man.
Remember being young and then my mum bought some fake moustaches and I had the vacuum out. Doing simpler times back then, Dan. Simpler times.
Definitely. Way simpler.
Yeah. He died on, it's my birthday, but not on the year I was born, so I'm not a reincarnation. But who knows? Barry seemed to become stuck once again when police confronted him with a photo of a man in a gas mask holding a handgun. However, he was defiant and maintained that it was not him in the photo, and you couldn't make out any of his distinctive features. As police could only hold Barry for 96 hours, he either had to be charged or released. They still had no concrete evidence against him, only a concerning series of coincidental pieces of evidence. However, as luck would have it, an ongoing forensic analysis of his large black cashmere duster coat confirmed a single particle of gunshot residue on the inside coat pocket. Police theorised that Barry had been in the presence of a firearm being discharged, likely the one that killed Jill. And this was enough for them to arrest him and astonishingly charge him with Jill's murder. Barry, meanwhile, remained adamant that the evidence had been planted, was not credible, or that it was from an unrelated incident. His lawyer was unable to prevent this arrest and subsequent charge. Gonna talk shit here, but firearm residue is actually, even though that sounds like that's a key thing that can get you.
It could be a smoking gun.
It could be a number of things, and it doesn't have to be you've shot a gun literally and put it in your pocket. It's there's other ways that can come onto your or gunpowder and things like that. There's other ways that can be on your person.
Yeah. So say you shot a gun and then a week later I popped it in my jacket pocket and then got rid of it, threw it in a lake or something, just because. Yeah, there could be a small.
So you still have to be around a gun, but it's quite easy to get on you. Is that what the point is?
Like a wet paintbrush. I
imagine. I don't want to go off Ben's metaphors. I'm going to try to search it. So why the residue presence is highly disputed. Scientific re-evaluation by experts concluded that the residue was no more likely to have come from the murder than from an alternate environmental or secondary contamination source. Since only one particle was found, it offered minimal evidential weight.
Yeah, the fact that it was one particle seems a little bit...
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, that is wild.
And they also say, because it could be a secondary transfer, it could be contaminated from firearm carrying officers. So yeah, it's not as you hear that you go, oh, well, that's definitely enough to take him, but because it's so little there, and if it was him put in his pocket, there'll be a lot more there going on.
So whilst in Belmarsh prison awaiting trial, Barry also remained adamant to fellow prisoners and family members that he had absolutely nothing to do with Jill Dando's murder. One fellow prisoner, who later turned investigative journalist, recalled, "I spoke with him. I knew right away. He is not capable of committing a cold-blooded execution in broad daylight and then not speaking about it for a year. No way. There's no way he could keep that secret." When analysed by a specialist clinical and forensic psychiatrist provided by the defence, and this was a Professor Susan Young, Barry George's processing speed, intellect, working memory and short-term memory were all confirmed to have scored extremely low. And in some instances, they even placed him in the first percentile, meaning that 99% of the population would have scored higher or performed better than him. So this is very much, I feel like we spoke about it the other week in a Minnesota, but it was very much kind of Brendan Dassey making a murderer type of vibes. But he seems slightly more coherent in some of the interviews I've seen with him, but still does struggle to kind of maintain conversation.
Yeah, it's very tricky when you come to people who are obviously more vulnerable and then put in these positions, and you do worry. Obviously, the police want to find someone and manipulate someone or take the testimony and take them in different ways and tie them in knots, essentially, especially when there's not been a lawyer present. That's when you do start thinking it makes you kind of cringe, the idea of not having a lawyer being there when he's being spoken to.
It's tricky, and obviously this has come again to they first looked at him properly 250 days after the murder, and now they're really pushing. As well as the police looking into it, journalists and private investigators also became incredibly interested in Barry George. They started digging into his background and were eager to start selling stories about the new mystery man charged with the highest profile murder of the last 50 years. In looking into his background, not only did they find this extensive criminal record that we've spoken about, there's also this very bizarre story here. They confirmed that he'd already been fined for impersonating a police officer. He had also repeatedly lied about being a cousin of Freddie Mercury. He had been rejected by the Territorial Army despite telling numerous women he was both in the RAF and the SAS. He had also boasted about winning several karate championships that simply did not exist. He had also used dozens of different names and identities over the years, including Barry Bulsara, and a stuntman by the name of Steve Majors. But
it's quite a good stuntman name.
The stuntman by the name of Steve Majors actually happened. So in a tangent and maybe this does explain part of some of the behaviors, in a tangent that nobody saw coming, during the 1980s, posing as stuntman Steve Majors, Barry attempted to jump over 4 double-decker buses from a ramp in just a pair of roller skates. And there's footage of this jump, which I'll try and find for you and play here. In the footage, you can see it appears as though Barry somehow managed to clear 3 of the 4 buses before landing awkwardly between the 4th bus and the ramp.
Which is impressive.
That is impressive.
Very impressive.
I'm not backing myself to make it off the ramp.
No, yeah, same. He, in sustaining this fall, he allegedly dislocated his spine.
What?
Which I didn't even know was possible. I googled it. It's very rare, but it can happen.
Oh.
Fractured his femur and sustained a very serious head injury, which some people have suggested could have caused his subsequent life of crime and concerning behaviours. It does look like a nasty tumble.
It looks like he pretty much clears the 4th one as well. But
it's like between the end of the 4th bus. So yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, the end of the 4th bus and the ramp, he sort of lands and then...
I was expecting more of a lower ramp. It's actually quite high.
Yeah.
A bit more like a ski jump sort of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was expecting a lower one as well.
Yeah.
Though it's a serious injury, a spinal dislocation occurs when the vertebrae in the spine move out of their normal alignment, often due to ligament damage or fracture. This can cause pain, nerve damage, and even paralysis, often occurring in sports.
Dislocation is one of my... I never want to experience that ever. Apparently the pain is off the scale.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it would have dislocated anything from that fall. Interesting.
Well, he was known to lie. Maybe these injuries didn't occur, but yeah. I mean, either way, this Steve Majors thing, the roller skates jump, it did happen. There's video footage of that. So There you go. Barry George was confirmed to have had a long-standing obsession and infatuation with Princess Diana, and had in fact been caught on the grounds of Kensington Palace, armed with a 12-inch hunting knife. At the time that he was caught, he was also dressed head to toe in combat gear and carrying a long coil of rope, which I'm sure we talked about this in our Diana episode. Despite the seriousness of the offence and making headline news at the time, it was almost laughed off by both the police and the press, as Barry was never viewed as a serious threat. That's surely a serious threat, right?
Well, if you
got onto the grounds with a large knife, big coil of rope.
That is threat-like behaviour.
Yeah, I'd take that as threatening.
So serious. Yeah.
Many comparisons, including obviously earlier in our episode, have been made between Jill and Diana, with the key theory being that Barry became obsessed with Jill after Diana's death. And also going back to that lone piece of modified ammunition casing found on Jill Dando's doorstep, which I made the unfortunate crimping remark on. This modification, crip walking, isn't it? Yeah. This modification did become known as crimping of the bullet casing. And these little scratches, we've already been through it, but apparently this process was very typical in the Balkans. Barry George had no knowledge or understanding of this process. So again, there's that point slightly more to him not being involved. Despite the arrest of Barry George, it was revealed to the public that 11 days before Jill's murder, another well-known journalist was murdered outside of his home in Belgrade, and a lone crimped bullet casing was also found at the scene.
May of 2001. 2 years and 8 days after the murder of Jill Dando, the trial of Barry George began at the Old Bailey in London. Jill's fiancé and family were in attendance, whilst Barry's sister also attended. Barry was defended by Michael
No.
Didn't you have one of those drawers and batteries in it? Oh, there's a bad drawer.
Don't. Barry was defended by Michael Mansfield, QC, Queen's Counsel, who claimed to the jury that Dando's death resulted from a professional hitman, and that without any trace of supposed firearms residue found in Barry's coat pocket, the prosecution would lack any evidence against his client. Susan Mays, a neighbour on Gowan Avenue, claimed that she saw Barry George acting suspiciously outside of Jill's house at around 7:30 a.m. on the morning that she was murdered. Susan Mays was the only person able to place Barry there, as well as one other neighbour being able to point him out in a lineup. No weapons or ammunition were found in Barry's home, consistent with Jill's murder, despite the small amount of residue found in his jacket pocket. There was no clear evidence that Barry had been stalking Jill Dando.
I was a bit worried when I'd recently been away and I went to the airport and I realised that I'd been handling those smoke flare things. And I was just in my head thinking that you can get just weird stuff in your hands, or any kind of residue from that might be something that goes off one of those machines where you stand there like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because from the video, you only see me holding one, but we did one as a tester. And we also did which was the best one. It was really bright and vibrant. And then we set some off as well for a shot toward the end. So I was like, just thinking, I wonder if I got some just residue going knocking about. What do you think?
You're probably covered in it, boy.
Yeah.
Despite this, Barry George was found guilty of Jill's murder by a jury on a 10-1 verdict and sentenced to life in prison. In his sentencing remarks, the judge said the following: "Your actions have deprived Miss Dando's fiancé, her family, friends, and the wider public of a much-loved and popular personality. You are unpredictable and dangerous, and are likely to remain so for some time. There can only be one sentence: imprisonment for life." Damning.
That's very damning, considering the lack of clear evidence. Crystal clear.
I guess for a judge, that's, it's a huge case. You want to get something that's quite worthy.
As well, 10-1 verdict. Imagine the one.
Smug.
Innocent. Very smug now, surely.
I want to be off work longer. No, take it seriously. But the canteen's great. Shut up.
Barry George served the following 8 years in prison for a crime that many people believed he did not, and simply was not able to, commit. It wasn't until a journalist and former wrongfully convicted man by the name of Mr. Raphael Rowe got involved. You may know him from his documentary series, The World's Toughest Prisons, which I have enjoyed.
And he's also been on the Happy Hour podcast. Our friends over at Happy Hour.
Yeah.
He's been on a couple of times, actually. Interesting guy. And he also, some people, question some things he says from what I've seen for comments and stuff like that. But he is good in those documentaries. He does. Obviously, he goes into some very uncomfortable places and has some comfortable conversations. But yeah, interesting.
A good comfort watch in the background just while you're cooking. Something like that.
Put the microwave in the pizza. Yeah, that's how it works. Honestly.
Imagine him shoving it in, bending it in half. Raphael spoke with Barry and his sister and immediately believed his innocence. He reviewed all of the evidence, the testimonies, and the case files before making the decision to travel to Boston, America, to speak with a ballistics expert regarding the one piece of evidence that convicted Barry, the gunshot residue particles. This expert stated that the evidence could not be relied upon and should have been admissible in court. A retrial was immediately ordered. In the retrial, Barry was quickly found not guilty. The court declared, Mr. George now has the right to be declared an innocent man. Barry now lives in a manor home in Ireland, not far from his sister. The question on everyone's mind was, if Barry did not kill Jill Dando, who did?
Just checking there as well, just because obviously always fascinated with wrongful convictions, or what is believed to be or being ruled in the court as a wrongful conviction. And it says he has not received any compensation for the 8 years he spent in prison. He apparently was legally positioned to claim up to £500,000 for lost earnings of wrongful imprisonment. Yeah. In April of 2010, it was revealed that the Ministry of Justice had rejected a £1.4 million compensation claim submitted by Barry George and his family due to his wrongful imprisonment for 8 years and the earnings he lost as a result. His family has made 2 unsuccessful attempts to secure compensation for him and continue to advocate for a legal change. His second claim, which was £500,000, was also denied on the basis that he was not deemed innocent enough regarding the murder of Jill Dando. That is wild.
That is
innocent enough.
What?
You're not innocent enough, mate.
You're not guilty, but not innocent enough either.
There's something about you that... that is wild. In an interview with Radio 5 Live Breakfast, Barry's sister Michelle Bates said,
In the British justice system, you are innocent until proven guilty. To say that Barry should prove his innocence after his conviction was quashed is ridiculous. There is no court in the land where you can prove your innocence. When you've just had your whole life ripped to shreds, and you've been so hugely damaged just from being in the environment of a prison, you come out and there is no assistance given to you, no counselling. You have to find a way to build a life from the ashes of what you had, all amidst constant harassment and hounding by the police, the general public and the media since his release from prison.
Yeah,
loads of snaps of him, modern day Barry George, like a lot of paparazzi snaps of him just out having lunch or sipping on a can of Diet Coke.
What was he having for lunch, Ben?
Not sure. But he does seem to be, people still have a very great deal of curiosity about him. So, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, in the wake of the Jimmy Savile scandal, claims surfaced that Jill Dando had been investigating and potentially was about to expose a child abuse ring at the BBC and actually provided a dossier of evidence to management. This particular theory, there's a lot of stuff on Reddit about this, so I'll pop a Reddit link as well as the full Crime Watch episode of Jill's murder in our Facebook group. I Could Murder a Podcast listeners and true crime discussion group. It's truly popping off. But this theory basically suggested that Jill was murdered in revenge for the alleged investigation that was ongoing. In recent years, theories have continued to suggest that Jimmy Savile was ultimately responsible for Jill Dando's murder under the guise that the journalist was probing into a paedophile ring. This theory gained significant attention after the release of the Netflix documentary Who Killed Jill Dando. However, Mark Williams Thomas, who was a private investigator who played a key role in ultimately exposing Jimmy Savile in 2012, has rejected these claims, and in a post on Twitter or X last September, he stated,
A few people on here suggesting that Jill Dando was killed for investigating Savile and what she knew. Those that think this, take a minute to apply common sense to the argument. I was the one that exposed Savile, got a mountain of evidence against him, exposed it fully to the world, leading to many people being arrested, including high-profile people. Nobody tried or managed to kill me. That's because the theory has absolutely no sense to it.
Another theory along the same vein is that Jill Dando was murdered by an actor who was affiliated with a criminal gang, or even a hired assassin in retribution for her involvement in Crime Watch. Basically, this Mark Williams Thomas, who was involved in the Savile case, also kind of became an investigative journalist and private detective. He suggested that Jill Dando's death was actually orchestrated by a notorious figure in London's underworld referred to as Mr. Big. This act was allegedly intended as a cautionary message to others regarding the dangers of confronting organised crime.
And this is another one that I heard about recently, which was the IRA theory. And this theory hinges on a letter sent by a man called Wayne Aird, who was a convicted killer serving a life sentence. In the letter, he claimed that a four-man IRA hit squad was responsible for murdering Jill Dando. And he stated this was to do with the link to Crime Watch and also the link to the police. And it's always interesting, isn't it, when someone's already in prison as to why they would go forward and claim these things and put their names to things with the IRA to things. It's been widely... people argue against it, but a lot of people do believe there's something within this. But there's no corroborating proof. As I said, the credibility concerns whether or not, why Wayne Aird is coming forward about this lacks investigative traction. None of the IRA theory has emerged in Scotland Yard's official public lines of inquiry, and it remains peripheral compared to other leads like the Serbian hitman or opportunist criminal theories.
A more recent theory regarding the murder of Jill Dando gained attention during the trial of Gerald Marie, the former head of elite model management in France. Legal documents claim that Marie sought to have undercover journalist Lisa Brinkworth, quote-unquote, dealt with after she revealed and secretly recorded his company for a BBC documentary. Additionally, Marie faced accusations of sexual assaults and rapes involving 11 women. This theory basically suggests that Marie hired a Russian mafia member to, quote, handle the issue, but the hitman mistakenly targeted Jill Dando instead.
I think the pictures do look quite similar, don't they, in terms of... like,
not a million miles away.
As I mentioned with the IRA link, there being a Serbian hitman also being linked within this. And this has also gained a lot of traction in people's theories, is a man by the name of Milorad Ulamek. He has basically the links that people were saying is his face resembles Man X in the CCTV. So yeah, we'll put some pictures up now. Very distinctive looking. He's got very kind of like sharp jawline.
Hairline as well is similar.
Yeah. And he's currently serving a 40-year sentence for orchestrating high-profile assassinations in the early 2000s, including a former Serbian president and former prime minister. He's also been linked to other murders happening abroad. An eyewitness has actually come forward and said that they believe that she saw him running around the area at the time. She's come forward and saying that it's him, I have no doubt. And a few other witnesses also said there's a big resemblance between him and the people they saw around at the time. And also the links to Serbia, as you mentioned earlier on in the case, with the links to the bomb in the NATO bombings, it could be linked along with that. As well with the crimping of the weapon, that being linked to that the Balkans, again, that kind of links him in as well. So him being in and around at that time, a lot of people believe, he could have something to do with it. But people do say that the evidence linking him is highly circumstantial. So a lot of these are basically, there's no solid corroborated evidence directly connecting him. But the theory rests on visual resemblance to a suspect seen fleeing the scene, supported by witness memory and speculative motive theories. So yeah, it's you can put two and two together with a lot of these cases of people being seen or people who were active at the time.
Well, there you go. So we've got several different theories and suspects. What do you boys have a clear-cut opinion or belief on this case? Because I've changed a few times. I'm kind of between two at the moment.
No, I just remember for ages after this happening, I was always very much on the side of this is like a revenge piece from the whole Crime Watch era. Yeah. But I do think that's possibly a quite naive thing. It's probably an easy thing to, to connect. But revenge can do all sorts to people. And like you mentioned earlier, Ben, there are underground criminal networks. And if you've got the money, you could probably do anything. And so if it is just simply a bit of revenge, because people want someone to blame, right? That's the thing. It's obviously Jill was not to blame for bringing these crimes to light, but people see it differently. And if they're angry, and revenge, like I say, can do crazy things, it could well be in that circle. But that's not conclusive. I'm not sure. It's It's really mysterious.
Yeah, I don't know if I follow. There's some people like the theories around the ex-lovers and, any jilted ex-lovers. The only weird thing I could really find, we were looking into any of that side of things, was the long-term boyfriend, Bob Wheaton, the one that was a bit older. Apparently, in 1993, she transferred him £35,000 after they'd broken up. And apparently this was a gift, it wasn't a loan, which helped him then to go on to buy a house. And Bob Wheaton at the time, being very high up at the BBC, he didn't need any money. So that's slightly weird. But again, that's not a reason you can link that and be like, oh, then he killed her. And the fax thing about the agent sending the fax over and her having to go home and get it, him knowing where she was that day, again, like he said, why would he essentially take out someone who's earning the most money and there's no reason for him to have any ill feeling toward her? I think out of all the theories, the NATO one is probably where I would sit. I mean, hitmen are highly skilled. They know exactly how not to be found. That's the whole point. The crimping of the weapon, using a replica weapon as well for making it even harder to trace. I would lean towards that, but it's hard, isn't it? Because if you really wanted to, like people do, you look past certain bits of evidence or things just to make it fit. So it is tricky. What about you, Ben?
The two that I've narrowed it down to are the two theories that you boys have just shared. I'm between Serbia. But either way, it was a professional situation. I feel that in 100%. In either that would have been a contract killing from the British criminal underworld or a hitman, an overseas hitman. So it was a professional murder. They've evaded any kind of notice, which again, it takes some degree of skill to do that in a busy London street. I think whoever did it as well would not want the information to come forward even 50, 100 years later, because there are repercussions of acknowledging your part in this. So if Serbia or whoever announced that they had been involved, or an underground criminal network announced that they'd be involved, there would be serious repercussions. So I'm between Serbia and the British underground criminal network, probably more so leaning towards Serbia.
Yeah, I think because it's going after another nation sweetheart in terms of, obviously we said before about the NATO bombing, killing a lot of journalists over there, going, okay, an eye for an eye, let's kill someone who's a journalist, who everyone would recognise, and it would really send shockwaves. But then I wouldn't know whether or not they would then come forward and try and, claim it. But maybe they don't want to do that because they don't want to get the backlash. But it's...
Definitely don't think there was any kind of cover-up, because the police wouldn't have allowed themselves to be as embarrassed as they were with this whole investigation and the Barry George situation. I don't think it was Barry George. No. I don't think it was the Undertaker guy. I don't think it was any ex-lover, ex-partner, agent. It was contract by some means.
Yeah, Barry George and Shackleton just make you think, you don't know who's living around the corner from you.
Yeah.
If you see a man walking around collecting some wood from the floor, you don't know what he's going home to make.
A wicker chair, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be a wicker chair, yeah.
You never know.
So just one tiny final little extra detail. This is actually what the first thing I wrote down, which was 29 Gowan Avenue today. So it does look very much like it's being lived in. The Google Street View shows you rubbish in bags on top of the bin in the front garden.
That's lovely.
Yes. The whole street obviously looks very pleasant these days. When Jill was tragically murdered, she was in the midst, as we said, of selling her house in Fulham 4 years after purchasing it. It was reported that she spent most of her time in her fiance's residence, which was over in Chiswick. And the fact that she returned home that morning as well, I feel like her phone had been, the phone call to the agent saying, I'm going to get the faxes. I feel like someone was listening in on that call. But she sold it for £350,000. It was then sold once again 7 years later for £811,000, and then in 2009 it sold for £1 million, and it remains a mystery who currently lives there. But then when I looked again in June of 2025, it's been popped onto Zoopla and Rightmove, and it's for sale for £2.5 million. So again, people interested in property, having a look inside the house and stuff, I'll pop that in our Facebook group.
It's got AstroTurf out the back.
Oh,
stands out.
That's the real crime.
Hell.
It's the real crime.
But it looks quite clean though.
Beautiful. otherwise.
Yeah.
For sure.
But there you go. So there you go, guys. Please let us know your theories, because I'm sure, we've kind of all agreed with each other here, but I'm sure there'll be people that disagree and have other theories, and maybe some theories that we haven't even discussed in the episode. So please let us know in the comments.
And guys, it's time for lookalikes. Ben, do you want to start us off?
I'll start us off.
I've got 2, but for different people.
Yeah, I ended up looking at, obviously we've talked about the similarities between Jill and Diana. That's an easy one. So I moved to Barry George, and I thought he looked quite a bit like Eric Bana's Chopper Read, but I didn't go for that. But that's what came to mind. I thought for all that time he spent pretending to be Freddie Mercury's cousin, he could have actually probably gotten away with pretending to be George Michael's cousin. Got that there.
Oh, is that actually, so that's George Michael's cousin on the left?
No, that's George Michael.
I don't know if that is.
Yeah, it is.
I don't
it's the
think that's
mugshot.
Is that George Michael?
There's no way that's George Michael.
That's George Michael.
It's got his eyes, to be fair.
Michael.
It is George Michael. Imagine the hair. That's around the outside.
I'm going to search that on Google.
Search George Michael mugshot.
Wow.
But yeah, did you see Eric Bana's Chopper Read there as well a little bit?
To be honest,
maybe?
Ben, that was my instant thought when I saw that mugshot. So that'll be my one for today.
Yeah,
so
take it.
Good. Yeah, very good.
His eyes have been manipulated. On
Are
that
they?
photo. Yeah.
I haven't touched it.
I've just seen an AI one as well. So
I've seen the one of him with a frown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we trust this image?
I don't think it's a real image.
Well, God knows where I got it. I just
searched mugshot George Michael and it's not come up at all.
Well, I mean, that looks like George Michael. I'm sticking with it.
Okay, so Ben's saying it looks like a George Michael lookalike, because I don't believe that's George Michael. Yeah, let us know in the comments if you think that's George Michael as well, because I don't know. I do not know. But I mean, it's probably a better shot than mine anyway. So mine is for Barry George. I really struggled, and this is I've often slagged Ben off for doing this. So using cartoon characters, but Captain Pugwash.
It's not. But I would have gone with him now.
Actually, him now probably is.
Yeah, but he's got the big nose and the.
And then for the Serbian assassin, gone with Morrissey. Now, maybe a younger Morrissey.
That's not bad. It's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not great. It's not my greatest work. I could just manipulate a photo of them and make them look more like them and claim that it's a mugshot.
I do not have the capabilities of doing that. I do not know where I got that, but a George Michael mugshot.
I wonder. I'm really interested where you got that from.
I'm sure that's what I searched, because I was like, mugshot.
Even look at his right eye. There's a weird little.
Yeah, it looks like it's been pulled a bit, doesn't it? But I haven't pulled it.
You can reverse image search. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's. I've not. I swear to you, I've not doctored it. I've just cropped it to
see where it comes
match
from.
his face size. But well, in that case, I'll leave you with this, gang. It's time for the cryptic clue.
Benjamin Carter's cryptic clues. Everyone gather round for some clues that can be quite cryptic, but he's going to give them to you anyway. Hope you can figure them out.
So, episode 4. Oh wow, a third of the way through the new series. I'm quite proud of this one. After I diss her. That
is good.
Your best. That is your best.
Probably your best one ever.
Wow.
Because that is a cryptic clue. That's the definition.
That actually works.
They all are cryptic.
And it takes a bit of thinking, but that actually works.
Well done.
So,
after I diss her.
Yeah, don't give any more. It's perfect as much as you've given there.
Sorry.
But no, that was
well done, Ben.
lovely.
Really well done.
Thank you, guys.
I've reversed image searched that mugshot of George Michael. Not a single hit has come back.
I swear to God, I have not. Oh, but I've cropped it. Hang on, let me uncrop it. Maybe I can't uncrop it. Shit. I'll find it.
Yeah, if you could.
It's an image.
It is an image.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not. That's a question in itself. It's a crime in itself saying that's George Michael.
Wow.
A really handsome man. But yes, no, and the guys, I know I mentioned earlier on, we want you guys to get involved. Hear Me Out is what we're saying. If you guys email us at hello@icmap.co.uk with the subject matter Hear Me Out, it can be a spooky story, it can be a message, it can be, anything. We want to hear from you guys and get you guys involved. We just want to accumulate some more of those before we start reading them at the end of the episodes. But thank you so much. And thank you so much for the support already this series. It's been very much appreciated. We couldn't do this without you. We've got some huge cases to cover. And the next one is, it's lots of things have come out about it. And there's a big talking point, lots to discuss. So we're very much excited to be discussing that and hearing what you guys think about that one.
Can I just quickly say, Tom, just after that, it's one really important thing. If you're still watching this on YouTube at this point, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, because it's so important to us and it makes such a difference. So if you're not subscribed, which a lot of you aren't, please hit that subscribe button. Please consider it at least.
Click it. As Tom said, big old episode coming next week. Cannot wait to cover that one. If you just can't wait until next week, though, we have, at the time of recording, around 220 exclusive minisodes over at our website, icmap.co.uk. You can actually access them via Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. But basically, by becoming a member on the website, you also get additional perks and discounts. There's access to an exclusive private Discord group, discounts on merch, early access to content. Why not? Check it out, type it in after you've subscribed, icmap.co.uk.
And if you want 50% off your first month, use code Open the Door.
Ooh.
Wow.
There you go.
That's
Didn't even know he was going to
50%.
drop that.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It's too much, actually, but take it. Quick, take it!
It won't be available for long, so if you're going to take it quick. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And like we always say
this all the time.
Keep doing what you do.
Well, unless it's kicking through the park looking for baby coffin wood materials.
Or bastardising a picture of George Michael and claiming it as a lookalike.
I don't know if I did that. I'm not capable of such an act.
Or putting down AstroTurf.
Yes.
That's the devil's work, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be people kicking off at you.
Kick off at me. I'll bring it. I'll be waiting in the comments.
I'm going to side with Dan on this one.
I agree with him.
Okay, so
love grass, natural grass.
Don't kill the bees.
Yeah, Ben. Anyway, guys, see you later. Take care of yourself. See you in a bit.